Tarumbeta italia katika anga.
Like this. That is how the trumpet will sound.
Konene. So I guess pia PLO kuna vile ameanza kuchoka na Ruto, cause Ruto amekuwa akifanya hizi gimmicks zingine zile unashindwa like what are we doing here, cause you always have to look at the bigger picture. And to me vitu kama kina Hustler Fund, all these things that involve handouts, they really don't impress me. Why? Because I always feel like instead of giving people small money for them to start businesses, you can do something bigger for the country, which might take a longer time to empower more people, but is guaranteed to empower more people. But ukisikiza kina Ruto, usikize maybe aseka kina David D, one of the things that stand out is they treat every Kenyan as this genius businessman who's only waiting for capital to just blow up. And this is interesting considering like last year, ama ni 2024, kuna ile trip nilimekigi, ile msekaga idho samaga trip yenye ilikuwa paid for na Ruto. And kwa hiyo trip, I remember nikisikia Meg Whitman. Meg Whitman made a speech and Ruto was there and she was talking about American businesses. Na alikuwa anasema that the genius of the American economy is for every 1,000 businesses that start, 999 fail but one makes it. And this one that makes it, inaendegia ki make it so big that easy na 99 zingine hazionekani. But try and imagine that. 999. If you're looking at that in percentages, I think we'd say 99.9% of businesses fail. But somehow, according to Ruto, 100% of these businesses, because if you ask me, NYOTA Fund is just throwing money into the pit. But wacha tusikie vile PLO Lumumba alibonga joy story.
You see programs such as the Hustler. What became of the Hustler Fund? The World Bank project, which is called NYOTA. Why should anybody be running around the country distributing it? Who tells our politicians that everybody is a businessman or businesswoman whom if you give 50,000, then they engage into some business?
Hiyo. Hindi swali nimeuliza before kwa umesikiza hii konene umesikia nikisema there's nothing as hard as running a business. It's just one of the hardest things to do. Why? Because you never know. Unajua, it's you are taking a risk and this risk might pan out. But if you give the average Kenyan 50,000 shillings, I can tell you the average male will either want to buy a boda or start selling second-hand clothes. Second-hand clothes are very interesting. Why? Because I'll tell you, I grew up in an era where all I used to wear was second-hand clothes. Then something called the internet came up. And the internet showed me that in a price natumia kwa second-hand stuff, I can get brand new stuff. Interesting. So, the second-hand clothes business ya time za mabuda zetu is not the same as time zetu. Because I was a consumer. I don't consume anymore. Ukitembea tao, utacheki maboy wengi sana with this bootleg Chinese shoes. And they look good. And they are wearing them. So that means that even second-hand shoes, saizi second-hand shoes wasa wanazivaa ni wasa wanataka zile za buda yangu hii ni original, checky stitch. Otherwise kwa wase wengi, like the bootleggers za China, they look good enough. If I have a few pairs, azizeeki, I look good. But it's good kusikia from PLO. Not everyone is a businessman. So this thing of just going and dishing out money, this is our money that's being dished out and people won't repay. Hii pesa itapotea tu. And this money could have been used to do something for the greater good. Maybe vile musi shinaga nikisema repair Kenyatta National Hospital, maybe have fast responders. Accidents are still happening. Even as we talk right now, kuna accident ili happen jana ikadedisha wase saba. That's what we are supposed to be focusing on, not this fake political empowerment where we give two people money and they go and waste the money. But tuendele na PLO.
It is classical pork barreling, going into the electorate, using their very money to win their votes. Politicians come with solutions, scatterbrain solutions about how school fees is to be paid. I'm told they are now moving into communities to find out children who have not transitioned. Is that how you run education in the 21st century?
So nacheki, so hapa alibaki ameingilia mpaka historia watu hii kwenda chuo, cause watu hii kwenda hii 10th grade imekuwa ni shida, like a lot of kids, cause remember education at some point was free, and then they decided that's not sustainable, let's do this, let's do that, and they ended up bringing this whole confusion. But let's go back to history. NYOTA. So the NYOTA fund thing was happening, and this is that populist politics, and you'll always find hata hapa saizi kwa comment hautakosa mseta kuambia hata sema hiyo story, hey buda jo, mimi nikipatiwa 20k leo nitaweza kuiturn into something. It looks very easy, but nah man, what are you going to sell? What are you going to do with these 20,000 shillings? It might look like life changing. You'll say, okay sir, if I get these 20,000 shillings, I'm going to kuleta mboga. Who told you there's a gap in the market for mboga? You see, I think one of the things let me learn from the Chinese, one of the things to me learn from those people is they always plug a gap in the market. So there's this one I plug. Kama sisi, hii kamera natumia saa hizi, hata fun enough sijaiwekea fan, but at some point it overheats. When it overheats, what do I use? I use a fan. Where is this fan made in China? Where is this camera designed in Japan? You see, the Chinese always look for a solution. So when you tell me that if you get 20,000 shillings, unaenda kuleta mboga, nitakuuliza in your neighborhood hakuna mtu na nini mboga? Haimaanishi haita work, but you're not doing anything that the market needs, because you're supposed to look for a problem and then provide the solution. And so far, we've not been that innovative. But now we have a president who's made a lot of people believe that all you need is 20,000 shillings and all of a sudden you're going to become this genius business person. Wacha tusikize.
Rais Ruto ameendelea kuwasuta wapinzani wake wanaopinga mpango wa kuwapa vijana mtaji wa NYOTA. Akiwahutubia vijana kutoka Nairobi, Kiambu na Kajiado, Ruto amewataka viongozi wa upinzani wakome kuwapotosha vijana wanaotafuta njia ya kujikwamua kimaisha.
So mesikia hiyo story ati waache kunini watu wanataka kujinini kimaisha, and I respect that, but you'll see the first thing that the president does is gaslight everyone who does not think this idea can work. So utasikia kibonga jua, you who has millions, you think 20,000 is nothing. Why is he saying that? He's saying that because ana target achiki waseka kina PLO Lumumba. Yeah, like, oh, nyinyi amuoni idea, this idea is great. Because I'll even give you an example. Majuzi tulikuwa hapa na Abisai, and with Abisai we were talking about starting pig farming. And eventually tukakuwa tuka-communicate, alafu nikamwambia like, hey Abisai, I'm ready to receive the pigs. So what do we do next? Akaniambia, before you receive the pigs, you need to send me pictures of the house for the pig. Because kumbuka, these are pigs that are supposed to be for large scale meat farming. Wacha nimtumie kahao. Kaniambia hao budaje, ikiweka hizi pigs naenda kudedi. So kamuuliza like, what's up? What sort of house should I design? Kasema house kama hii na hii na hii. And how much is that house? 250,000 shillings at least on the lower side. Otherwise the better one would take around 300 and something thousand. And you see now, my dream of starting a pig business, it can blow up like that. Because now, what I thought I could start with a certain amount, I'm being told like I need like 4 times the amount of what I was thinking. Now I have to take a back seat and reprogram myself. But someone else is telling you that all you need is 20,000 shillings and you're going to do this magical blah blah blah. And you see, Abisai on the other side is a very honest person, because what he could have done is, bado angenipatia hizo pigs zingeenda zidedi tu, but ingekuwa mimi nishakupatia, acha zidedi alafu. So that's how tricky business is. But wacha tusikie Ruto akituambia, him as a billionaire akituambia vile 20,000 shillings is what most youth need to change their lives.
Ilikuwa awamu ya kaunti za Nairobi, Kajiado na Kiambu pokea mgao wao wa fedha za NYOTA, ambayo imetajwa kuwa hija kwa vijana kuanzisha biashara za kujikimu kimaisha.
NYOTA ni fire si fire. NYOTA ni fire si fire.
Rais Ruto katika hafla iliyofanyika uwanja wa michezo wa Kasarani akitumia fursa hiyo kuwasuta wale wanaopinga mpango huo.
Kuna watu wakipata 20,000 watabadilisha hii dunia. Kuna watu hapa wakipata 50,000 dunia yao inabadilika. Wewe ambaye uko na milioni, please usituonyeshe madharau.
Machikio, wewe yenyewe uko na milioni, usituonyeshe madharau. Don't forget, Ruto is a billionaire. The guy who's supposed to talk, who's going to speak next, is also a billionaire. And these billionaires make you believe that all you need is 20,000 shillings to change your life. And so that means that everyone who works for a salary is stupid, because there's a lot of people working for less than minimum wage, while they could just take that salary, quit their jobs, and change their lives. You know why? Because we are all businessmen. We are all... I always give the classic example, Lenshona Gamse akiandika juu like, the easiest way to be a billionaire. Imagine supplying salt to every house in Kenya. Ama, if not that, supplying kiberiti to every household in Kenya. Yeah, how many houses do we have? We have like a population of 55 million people. Let's say out of those 55 million people plus immigrants, Nini, we have at least 10 million houses. Imagine if we are supplying matchboxes to those houses. How much money would you make? Akatengeza calculation yake sijui ya matchbox is like 20 shillings. 10 million houses, that's 200 million shillings. Alafu sijui unafanya nini? That's nonsense mathematics. Because why? There are no matchboxes. There is no one supplying matchboxes. You're going to be the first guy to supply matchboxes. The same thing, mtu atakwambia, if you are to get a boda, mtu atakwambia, you'll make this amount of money, you'll make this, because every business in a plan, you're in a vacuum where there's already other businesses, but there's this vacuum that you're going to fill. And but wacha tuendelee na hii tusikie vile hii pesa ita change lives zetu, of course, because hizi ni ideas za kipumbavu, but who knows.
That do not despise humble beginnings. Hawa vijana wanaanzia pale chini na hundi ya shilingi 50,000 ambaye the first phase watapata siku ya leo.
So let me make something clear before someone loses their ish kwa comments. Out of all these people who are going to get this money, let's say there are how many? Maybe 20,000 people who get. Will there be that one abnormally case? Yes. How will this abnormally case happen? Most of it is someone who still lives in their mother's house. And maybe they can take these 50,000 shillings and maybe even buy that boda, and then they decide they are going to ride the boda. Then what happens? Maybe they are good at it, they ride safe, they do what. What happens? Maybe they get a few customers who are this and this and this. They use that money to do something. But it's going to be like out of 20,000 cases, if you are to ask me, I'm someone who loves mathematics, I can guarantee you 99.9% is going to fail. That's money that's been thrown into a pit. As we talk right now, kuna mse alipatiwa hii do jana bila shai kunywa yote. Yes, that's the reality. And that's the reality of business. But tuendelee.
Kulingana na Rais Ruto, mpango wa NYOTA si wa kisiasa, bali ni kuwapa vijana mtaji wa kuwasaidia kibiashara.
Kuna mtu hapa ameulizwa wewe ni wa chama gani ndio ingie kwa hii program? Kwa ile maswali ilikuweko hapo, muliambiwa what is your political party? Muliambiwa kama wewe ni wa no term? Muliulizwa kama wewe ni wa one term? Uliulizwa kama wewe ni wa two term? Uliulizwa kama wewe ni wa long term?
So that part I have to respect that. Yes, it's good that they're giving to everyone. They don't care if you're one term, two term. But are they giving us that because they love us? No, they're giving us that because they hope that this can be the thing that swings that political whatever to their side. And it's a sad state of affairs because I don't know how much money is being thrown into this thing. Nimesikia kitu ya World Bank. I don't want to see how World Bank plan to execute this. Because ukiangalia other people who've been trying to advise the World Bank on how to make Africa better, the first thing that comes is reduce taxes. Nacheki. But what's happening right now in a story ni, even me and you filing our taxes is going to be a problem. Why? Because any money that you've spent and did not receive an ETR receipt, jua uko screwed. You can't claim that money. So that means that rent yako, kama landlord wako akupatiaje an ETR receipt, you're screwed. Nacheki. And what's going to happen? A lot of businesses in Kenya are very informal. So ukizianza kuziforce na stories za ETR and what itakuwa ni shida. Alafu kuna sasa kwa like, oh, but everyone has to pay a share that. Yes, people pay their share of taxes hapa Kenya in ways that we don't even expect. Look at the way our fuel is overtaxed. Look at the way our electricity is overtaxed. So someone everywhere, at least watu toaga kitu. The government makes it seem like kuna wasi wanaishigi bila anything. Unajua hizi makina bread na kila kitu zote tayari zinakuaga taxed. Najua, see, we are one of the few countries that overtax foodstuffs. one of the things nishai notice, I think, and I don't know if ikitu, but nishai notice again kibai vitu majuu, kuna vitu naangaliaga tax naona ni 8%, kuna vitu naangaliaga tax naona it's like super low, especially kikwa vitu zinaka foodstuffs, the tax inakuwa a little bit low. But kawe ni msiu kwa majuu, baki umeniambia hapo kwa comments if that's actually true. But wacha tuendelee. And if you got this NYOTA fund, usichukue word yangu, like this is another way to look at it. Someone can get 50,000 shillings and they decide to buy a smartphone, and with this smartphone they decide to make content, and what happens? It's a game of probabilities. They end up blowing up and you make your money. So I'm not saying that it's impossible, but that we're talking of 50,000 shillings. If you're talking about 20,000 shillings, maybe you might get that smartphone, maybe it might work out, maybe, but you see, it's a game of probabilities. Now we are hoping that you're that one person who the algorithm itabaki memo identify, because just because you have good content does not mean that people will watch the content. It doesn't work that way. So it's a gamble, but life is a gamble, and that's the beauty about it. But should the government gamble to that, like take all of our money and decide it's okay to lose 99.9% as long as 0.1% works? That's what I have a problem with.
Long term, this is not the only youth empowerment program that we are having under your leadership. This administration is also empowering young people, creating jobs and income opportunities through the affordable housing program, through digital jobs.
Gavana wa Nairobi Johnson Sakaja.
Kabla tusikize Sakaja, of course, kama uja watch ile episode tulifanya juu ya kazi majuu, just watch it and see. And that's the president trying to do his youth empowerment. And I think that there I'll protect the president. I'll even defend him and say I don't think he knows that all he started is a very good corruption scheme where watu wanapatiwa loan through the National Youth Fund. The money goes to these job agencies and then these people are never put into any, hakuna place yote wanapelekwa. The money is just stolen, like ile tuna machongumu like konene tumeiba pesa mtadu acheki. So there's that. But wacha tusikize Sakaja. Sakaja also comes up with his own wacha tusikize.
Akitangaza kuwa vijana waliopokea fedha hizo katika kaunti ya Nairobi hawatalipishwa pesa za kusajili biashara zao wala kulipia leseni kwa miaka miwili.
Hiyo list nitapatiwa. Sisi tutahakikisha for the first year na ile ambayo inafuata, ile biashara utaanzisha tuna waive all business permits.
So hii ni biashara gani ile utakuwa mpatiwa 20,000 shillings and you end up paying for a business permit? Because I'm thinking maybe somebody will be a hawker, ama utakuwa kisell mboga, ama utakuwa kisell mtumba. How will you need a business permit? And kuna contrary to popular belief, because unaona kuna raya ujam na mimi siko mwafu nafikiri unajua kila kitu. I don't know everything. That's why the comment section is there. Please nichanue which business is this that I can start with 20,000 shillings and still have enough for a license, that now since I'd already budgeted for the license, I'm supposed to be like, oh, thank you, Mr. Sakaja, for making sure that I'll not pay the licenses. So tell me about that business. I'm trying to learn. Najua. I think a lot of people get it twisted that just because you have an opinion and you stick by it, it means you're not ready to learn. I'm ready to learn. Najua. Itakuwa like, but why you likosana na blah, 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 jia blah, blah, blah. It's because there are things that I'm strongly opinionated on. And one of those things is success is to be celebrated. And especially if it's clean success. Political success, that's a whole other thing. Political wealth, but anyone who wakes up and just grinds and just gives their 100%, me on the other side, I'll always clap for them. So if that makes me clash with a few people along the way, yes, I will. Does that mean that I'm not ready to learn? No, I'm always ready to learn. If there's something I love, is the fact that every day I learn something new. That's the interesting thing. Like even nikidigress kidogo, tulikuwa tuna shoot iko Nini for a very long time using a smartphone. Then we started using a camera. And then I learned that we were using the smartphone wrong. Try to imagine this. Like iko Nini started in 2021. Tukatumia Samsung A71. I think that one we used it the right way, the best way possible. Tukatumia iPhone 14 Pro Max, used it wrong. tukatumia iPhone 15 Pro Max, used it wrong. Tukatumia iPhone 16 Pro Max, used it wrong. The time we got the camera is when tukacheki, oh shit, this camera has this setting and the phone has this setting. Damn, what about if we had to use this setting, a camera, on the phone? We're like, bah, we've been using the phone wrong. Yes. And this is something I took pride in. Wasalikuwa nakuja hapa iko nini kule, buda nyu tumia phone, buda nyu. All this time we were using it wrong. So why am I telling you this story? I'm telling you this story because I'm trying to show you that we are always ready to learn, and I'm always ready to learn. But one thing that I know is starting a business with 20,000 shillings in 2026 is really hard, but I'm always ready to learn. So, vile nilisema, the Chinese always give us something. They plug a gap in the market. So, hii camera iko hot. Let me grab something. Watch ad, I'm back. I'll be back. Konene, najua mwaka ni mpya lakini injili ni ile ile, Lemfi. So, kama uko US, uko UK, uko Canada, ama uko the UAE, na unatry kutuma do Kenya, baki umechangamka, ingia Lemfi, utabaki umepata the most competitive rates. Lakini apart from that, on your first transaction ya $100 or more, utapata $20 sign up reward. So unangoja nini? Baki umechangamka, chap chap, ingia Lemfi. Lemfi, international payments for everyone. Ekonene. So yeah, wacha tumalizie.
Business permits, licenses, hakuna kunyanyaswa na kanjo. Sasa ile umeingia kwa hii system.
Vijana kama hawa walikuwa wamewekwa katika kona moja ambapo wanatumika wakati wa siasa, wanaenda kwa mikutano ya siasa kupiga kelele.
So, I don't know, man. If these are the ideas that are going to take us to Singapore, man, I'm sad, man. I'm actually very sad. Why? Because we'll never get to Singapore. But one thing that I know about Ruto is political, in quotes, genius. And he knows how to do stuff. So even if you look at this speech, one of the things that you'll see is when the speech was ending, Ali ended up akidu one thing that I expect him to do. And what was that? He ended up using sheng, the sort of sheng that Ubambaga wasi, the sort of sheng that will make you believe that 20,000 shillings is enough to change your life. Wacha tusikize.
Nasikia kuna mtu atakuita sasa, wakudumu, basenga, bazuu, ati wanasema master. Hiyo maneno mjichunge, sio? Kila mtu ajipange na biashara ndio tuweze kusonga mbele pamoja. Kwa hivyo nasema asanteni sana, mimi nawapenda sana, nawatakia baraka ya Mungu. Thank you very much.
So at least umeitwa bazenga, mkafurahi that Ruto mwaita bazenga. Najua it's just one of those things where I cannot even blame him. But before nitoke hapa, wacha nibaki nime revisit one of the things that had been talked about. Ulicheki umsana itwa nani, like PLO alibonga jia the confusion that's happening around grade 10, and that confusion is so confusing that I don't even know what to say about that confusion. Wacha tusikie vile ilikuwa reported on NTV.
Ila sasa tuingie masuala ya elimu. Sasa takriban wanafunzi 1400 wangali nyumbani wiki mbili baada ya shule kufunguliwa, zile za sekondari pevu. Kwa muhula wa kwanza, maafisa wameanza mchakato wa kuwatafuta wanafunzi hao kujua kiini. Wazazi wanaoelemewa na gharama ya maisha wa kukosa kazi sasa wako kiguna njia kutafutia watoto wao wafadhili wa karo na mahitaji mengine. Baadhi ya wazazi wameonekana hapa Nairobi wakitafuta ufadhili katika ofisi ya gavana wa Nairobi, baadhi wakinufaika, wengine wakiambulia patupu, kama anavyotuarifu sasa.
Atiki, hiyo report nilikuwa na sasa sijui kwa nini NTV alikuwa na hiyo, but yeah, so grade 10 imekuja. A lot of parents cannot pay the school fees, and what's happening is they are going to government offices to look for bursaries, and it makes you wonder, is there an easy way for government to give bursaries? Yes, in the form of free education. So we not need CDF, watu kuja kwa ofisi za CDF looking for bursaries, and we not need people going to Governor Sakaja's office to look for bursaries. But where can we get some of this money? We can get some of this money from the nonsense that we've just done. Hiyo nonsense inaitwa NYOTA. But kitu interesting na hiyo NYOTA ni the fact that it's actually an idea from the World Bank. And it just shows you how the World Bank, because they'll give us this money and then they'll force us to use it in some way. And I don't know, man. So kuna msee anaitwa Ouma Oneko alikuwa ameandika juu story ya World Bank, na alikuwa ameandika what the country is witnessing today is not leadership, it's the theatrics of deception. President William Ruto did not invent the NYOTA program. He rebranded KIOP, a World Bank supported youth initiative that existed long before him, stripped it of its institutional discipline and converted it into a personal political cash dispensing roadshow. Money meant for structured youth empowerment has been reduced to handouts waived for before desperate crowds and repackaged as presidential generosity. Okay, sawa. Naweza taka kujua vile World Bank walikuwa wanataka kuido. Then kakwa the World Bank did not send money to Kenya so that a president could tour the country issuing down payments like a Shylock. If the program's design estimates 50,000 or 100,000 per youth, why are young people being handed 22,000, then instructed to work with it and patiently wait for a mythical phase 2? Since when did empowerment begin with rationing hope? Then ikakuwa, worse still, the Auditor General has raised serious red flags over unaccounted billions linked to the same programs. This is not opposition noise. This is the constitutional office mandated to protect public resources, asking hard questions that the government refuses to answer. Silence in the face of audit queries is not innocence, it's arrogance. Kenyans are poor but not stupid, they remember. Under Uhuru Kenyatta, businesses were stable, money circulated, people worked, the economy breathed. Youths were not paraded like beggars at political rallies. Corruption did not vanish, but it feared exposure. Today, even the loudest hustlers, boda riders and mawambogas will quietly tell you the truth. Money had value then, today it evaporates in the hand. Alafu akaendelea akisema, so hiyo story ya Uhuru, I don't fully agree with it. I think the struggles were still there, but that's open for debate. But tuendelee. Akasema, William Ruto is not suffering from a lack of ideas. He is a master manipulator. He now understands poverty well enough to weaponize it. He knows how to convert debt into applause, loans into lies, and grants into campaign slogans. He can excite hired crowds, choreograph chants, and burst supporters. But that era is ending. Then for the first time, this is no longer government versus opposition. Funds sent to Kenya by the World Bank were meant for systematic youth empowerment, not presidential tours where checks are waived before desperate young people like campaign tokens. It is William Ruto versus the people, and no amount of stage-managed generosity will silence a nation that knows it's being played. Damn! Omse aliandika, a very powerful thing. So yeah, I don't know, man. What do you think about this? Are we all businessmen? Do we all have this business acumen that we're just waiting for some little money to spark and take us to the next level? Let me know. I'll still insist all these billions that we give out in handouts can be used to turn Kenyatta Hospital into a state-of-the-art hospital, and in the process we'd create a lot of jobs. Why? Because a lot of people would come to Kenyatta National Hospital, creating a lot of business around it. People would even come from outside Africa. That means that the hotels would be occupied. The the mamambogas would benefit with their fruits, with their what. But every time that we make everyone become a mamamboga or to a boda becomes a problem. But what do I know? Niambia hapo kwa comments. Iko nene.